Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. My name is Katelyn from Florals.com and today I am back with After the Glue Dries series. Now we have hit August, which means this is the last month of this series, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed all the tips and tricks for getting all those layouts into albums and adding those finishing touches, whether it be glue, extra embellishments, journaling, the date, whatever it might be. And I know I've made some significant progress, and if you guys have or are part of my Patreon and have watched my behind the scenes vlogs, you guys will know I just bought more albums so I can put more layouts away. So if you're interested in learning more about behind the scenes, you can check out my Patreon link below. But I did want to make a special announcement. If you guys have not heard or might not follow me over on my Instagram, I did post about a brand new petition that was created to honor Breonna Taylor and to demand justice for her over on the White House website. So if you guys have not signed the new one yet, please check out the link down below. But if you guys have already checked it out, I'll have other resources linked down below so you can continue your pursuit in education and taking action. But for today's After the Glue Dries episode, I am talking all about filling the gaps in your album. If you scrap out of order like I often do, or if you watch my videos and you might not scrapbook out of order, you wonder how I put layouts into different sizes, if they're 8.5 by 11, if they're 12 by 12, if they're pocket pages, and I rarely have a rhyme or reason. Usually it's an inspiration, it's the products I want to use, it's the photos themselves that inspire me, and with that you'll have problems like the ones I'm about to show you. Now this is my 2013 album, and you'll have to forgive it. One, I can't get this sticker off. It is from DCWV, and I bought this at Ollie's quite a few years ago, but it was only $6.99. So if you guys have a local Ollie's, you might want to check it out if you're looking for albums. But it is a D-ring faux leather album, but there's not much in it, so don't be disappointed when you're not getting a full album flip through. But essentially I have some Christmas layouts in here, and they're all nice. You know, you could flip through, it looks really great, and then you come across a section that might look like this. It is just this awkward meetup between a blank empty slot where a 12 by 12 should be and the back of pocket pages, and some really ugly ones at that, because we have washi tapes, we have brads, we have some that are really chunky, we have dates printed on the background of photos, which then of course leads into nice pages from Christmas. And then that's all that's in this album, which is kind of sad. But as I explained in my behind the scenes video for Patreon, I don't have these photos personally. They're on the family desktop because I didn't even think I had a computer at this point, you know, one to store photos on at least. But if you're like me, you will have issues like this in your album, whether it be an 8.5 by 11 and a 12 by 12 meeting up and you're not sure where to put which one because it doesn't have someone else to go in a pocket with, or if you scrapbook out of order and you know you already scrapbooked all the Christmas photos, so what would go in between a 12 by 12 Christmas and a pocket page Christmas? So we're going to talk about that today and different options you could do to fill the gaps, because there are tons of different ways you could do this. Obviously firstly you could reprint photos, give one its own 12 by 12 spotlight, do a pocket page, you know, just filling in the gaps with pre-printed photos or photos you thought originally didn't make the cut and now do make the cut. Really depends on your preference of what you'd like to scrapbook about. You could rearrange your albums. I know a lot of people end up doing that because of the way things line up, especially if you are a multi-size scrapbooker who scrapbooks 12 by 12, 8.5 by 11, pocket page inserts, pocket pages, and all the things in between. And if you're like me, you are one of those people who just throws in things willy-nilly and doesn't think about the consequences of having another side to deal with. And that's also a reason you should be getting your albums into, or your projects into albums rather, sooner rather than later, so you can actually dictate where they go. Now, if you are a album planner, which I have been for previous albums, you may not run into this issue at all, but I have a feeling not many of us take the time to plan out our entire album before we get to scrapbooking. So if you are a fast scrapper but not planner, maybe this video is for you. So to get started, if you have uneven page ratios, you have a double layout. Say this were a double page layout and then you had a single page layout and then another double page layout, then you'd have this awkward single spot open. So it's really hard to dictate, if you're not scrapbooking in order, where things should go, especially if you want to keep your albums chronological. Now also, some of you guys might not know if you haven't watched the rest of the series, and I'll have the series playlist linked down below in case you guys have missed any of the journaling tips and organization tips I've shared so far. But Not all of my albums are in chronological order, which I might end up changing. I've just ended up bringing all my albums into the same space essentially as my craft room since I've moved my craft room. So I'm kind of getting to my wit's end about actually going through them and realizing that sometimes the sticky note on the outside that I showed you guys at the beginning does not match. I did a organization quite a few years ago with all of my albums and layouts. I think it might have been when I came home from college one year. So one summer I did that and it did not stick. I have layouts everywhere, and if you've moved as many times as I have, or you're in college still and you're moving with your scrapbooks, which can be very daunting. I only had one scrapbook ever with me at college, and all the photos I wanted to scrap would go in the same album just for storage purposes. Dorm rooms are really small. Even college apartments are really small. Or if you're just small time living right now, put them all in one album. It'll be okay. It's more about the memories, and as long as you have them labeled with a date. You know, Christmas, you don't really need a date other than a year, so the year's right here, but as long as you have them labeled with a date and journaling and the pictures and everything's fine. Everything will be fine. So what can you do if you come across one of these sections in your album? Whether it be pocket page, whether it be 12 by 12, 8.5 by 11, pocket page insert, whatever it might be. What can you do to fill the space? We already talked about reprinting your photos. That's always an option to give one a spotlight or to tell a different story with the same photo. You can also always make a page without a photo. Now what I mean by that, it's usually everything that you normally include on a layout. It would have a title, it'd have a journaling spot, it would have beautiful pieces of ephemera and stickers and fun, but there wouldn't be a photo to go with your story. Now, some people like that, some people don't. It really depends on your take on scrapbooking and what scrapbooking should be about, but at its core, scrapbooking is about memory keeping, and memories don't necessarily have to have a photo to go with them. So you could either do that, or some people who have memories that don't have photos associated find an image online, whether it be their favorite childhood toy and they didn't have, you know, you were a child, you wouldn't take a photo of it, of course, so you can find a photo of that online to include. Lots of different ways you could incorporate more pages into your album if you wish. If you have told every story under the sun, maybe it's a themed album and you've used all the photos already and you don't want to do repeats, I have a simple solution for you. Because if you guys own paper pads, then you have a paper pad that has some sort of 12 by 12 print that has no room for a photo. So there's this one from a Christmas paper pad that says the most wonderful time of the year. And you just slap that baby in there. And I actually did this for a gift album, adding in a lot of these title pieces because, one, they're hard to use otherwise if you're not using them for an album opener or an album closer, which a lot of us end up having empty pages at the end of our albums because we put New Year's Eve there. Then you're like, what happens after New Year's Eve? Well, nothing. It's New Year's, it goes in the next album, right? So you could always do one of these wonderful things at the back of your album just to fill in the space, or mid-album to pair with another page that just needs something to go with it. Easy to coordinate, essentially. You could make it a double page. So for example, if this page was in my album and this one was empty and I needed something to fill it and I didn't have any more pages I wanted to use, I could then fill this with something that coordinates with this page. Not necessarily a whole double page layout because this one wouldn't have any photos on it, but it does help create that look that it's supposed to be together. So I'd pull in a red plaid perhaps. At least these are both Christmas themed. I don't mind the silver and gold mix, but you know, it needs to go on this page anyway, so I could put this here and fill that in, but pocket pages are a little bit harder. So you could do a bunch of pocket page cards just to fill the space. Again, you might want to coordinate, but sometimes we all have those really pretty busy pattern papers that you could simply cut up to fit in each of the pockets. So I could just cut this on all the lines. Now this one's a little tricky. I would cut it horizontally first and then into the 3x4s and 4x6, but essentially filling the pocket with the design just so it's like a split up design can also be a really, really great way to fill those spots. Again, depends on your preference. You might want to just get the double photos out and just put in the weird ones, especially if you are doing older photos with all those doubles. And you know, some of them just don't turn out very well, but you could always fill a page with them because you end up getting so many photos printed and there's a couple good ones, but not so much anymore. But that's another way you could easily fill in the pocket page. And sometimes you might be in the opposite case. So it's not necessarily about filling in a blank, it's about filling in a photo you forgot about. So say I had another photo from this day. I know I do somewhere. I did try to find it. I know I have more pictures of myself on this Christmas morning in this bright pink shirt. I don't know why I chose that bright pink shirt, but it really threw off my color scheme here. It actually worked a little bit complementary with the red, but either way, if you are in that case where you might find you found photos you forgot to scrapbook about and don't have any room in the album, you don't want to reorganize the entire album by shifting everything down 3 or 4 slots or 1 or 2 slots, depending on how many you forgot about, a pocket page insert can be your key. So essentially, you ideally take a 6x8, 4x6, depending on what size you want, you insert it in. One side would be your photo, if there's only one photo, for example, or you do both sides depending on that, but there's always the same issue. If you add in one page, you technically are always adding in 2 because there's always a front and a back. Now, one thing some people might like to do is essentially make a shaker back. So if I put a photo in here, I would back it with white cardstock, so pretend it's in a photo pocket. It went like this. You turn it over, this would be white, and then it'd just be full of sequins. Now that's an easy way to include something else. But I think we shouldn't necessarily be mad at ourselves when we don't plan things out. I'm pretty easygoing when it comes to things, but I would be fine leaving my scrapbook like this. It doesn't bother me, but when you can find simple solutions like these, you could either throw them in as placeholders, just in case a layout comes along, or you don't think a layout's ever going to come along, then they could stay there forever, but it's an easy way to mitigate a situation that might make you feel like you've never finished the album. Because sometimes it is not worth reorganizing the entire album just to fit in a blank spot, because blank spots are okay, and not being in complete 100% chronological order is okay. It's okay if you have Christmas evening before Christmas morning. It'll be completely fine, but again, I know different people have different likes and dislikes in their scrapbooks. But I hope you guys enjoyed some of these tips, and let me know if you've ran into gaps in your albums. I know as a non-chronological scrapbooker myself, I find these problems all the time, and every single time I start a pocket page, I always worry about what's going on the opposite side. So if you're like me, love to do a pocket page now and then, but hate dealing with the opposite side, hopefully some of these tips will help. And again, you guys have pretty papers, you might as well feature it, whether it be at the front of your album where you don't know where to start your album, the back of your album where you don't know where to end your album, or somewhere in between like mine are, because these are definitely going next to each other. Maybe I'll switch it and put the Christmas tree on this side and then leave this one blank and do something with my family related on this side. You know, lots and lots of options to really customize your albums and make these blank spots work for you, because they're not bad things. It's not necessarily work in progress. You can leave it blank. There's no one saying the pages have to go in order or can't skip around. And I do like the idea of using these because, man, are they hard to use otherwise. I mean, there's a couple room spots here for photos, but a lot of these are very ornate and beautiful, and there's nowhere to put a photo. So hopefully you guys enjoyed these tips. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more of this series After the Glue Dries, as well as process videos and more fun scrapbooking content. But thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to check out the links down below, including the one for Breonna Taylor. It is very, very important to stay active and vigilant in these trying times, but I hope you're staying well and staying safe and healthy, and I will see you guys again very, very soon. Bye, guys.